Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review Thursday night live show with me, Paul. Tonight, I've got two special guests on. It's going to be Stephen from Geordie Talk YouTube channel and Ben from Toonmouth Tyne on Twitter. I'm going to be going through basically a touch-up on the Leeds game, look forward to the Everton game, talk about Graeme Jones, some of the possibilities of transfers going on. But again, I want all you guys to take part in the show, have a bit of banter, see what you think of the transfers. If you heard anything, because it certainly looks like there's going to be some players in and out before the end of the transfer window. So let's bring the lads in now. We've got Stephen and we've got Ben. Good evening, lads.
Good evening.
Hello. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Good. Just to touch up on just to start off really with the touch on the Leeds United game. Ben, I know everybody was pretty happy with the second half, but it was same old in the first half, and again we left it too late.
It was, and it's just the same old thing of it's in a way it's irrelevant about the second half. We still came out of it with 0 points, and it's just not good enough. It was an improvement, it was, but I don't know. Performances like that leave you questioning. Where has that been for the last few months?
Yeah.
It's baffling. I don't know what you guys think about it, but
well, Stephen, what did you think of the Leeds game? Do you think we're going to go forward and play like we did in the second half at Everton?
I really hope so. I mean, I know it was just like the same old in the first half. Passive football, not creating anything, very little anyway. But in the second half, we had a word with ourselves and try to get back into it. Which I know it's not good enough, but I would say it's a slight improvement of what we were saying over the past since the start of the year. I mean, it was a big improvement. I was very happy for Miggy to get his goal. I'm over the moon for Miggy, and his partner now pregnant. Over the moment,
it was a good goal.
It was a lovely work goal. But I just what I don't get, Ben, is why don't we start off like that instead of reacting to every single game we play, instead of being proactive and going out like that from the start?
Honestly, mate, I wish I knew. I wish I had the answers. It's like I said, it's baffling. We clearly have the players. We've seen it. We saw it. I know it's bringing up Rafa, but we saw it under Rafa, and we've seen it in spells under Bruce as well. Especially last season, we weren't as poor as we are now last season. So something was. I don't know whether it's the remnants of Rafa hadn't quite been knocked out of them, or whether it was just Bruce was. It was a little bit more on the ball. I don't know, but something's changed, and we saw it in a glimpse the other night. We have got the players to play that way, and it's infuriating. Why we've gone all this time without playing that way? Is it the attitude of the players, or is it just down to Bruce? I think it's been a bit of both. I want Bruce out as much as the next man, but I do believe that some of these players, maybe because they're not playing for Bruce, but again, it's they haven't been pulling the weight.
I just get the feeling that something happened at half time in the Leeds game. I don't think it was Bruce that motivated them players. I think that some of the senior players just turned around and said, right, I've had enough. We are going out to try and get something from this game because we cannot take playing like this anymore. Because I don't see how Bruce can fire them up within a 15-minute break, yet he can't do it before the match. I don't know what you make, Stephen, but I just thought it was the players that made that decision to go for it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. I would have made that decision myself. Just got amongst the players just to say, right, we need to get something out of this. And they were thinking in the back of the mind, said, well, if he's not going to G us up, we'll have to G ourselves up and have had a word with ourselves, in the huddle or something like that. And then they've really gone out for it, trying to get something. And I commend the lads for doing it. Because I know they'll get absolutely sick of trying to play in that sort of way. When that second half was such a better improvement, when San Maximan come on, he was an instant game changer. And then
definitely.
Lewis was very unlucky not to score. I mean, I think he just panicked that he had so much time to take his shot, and he just ended up ballooning it over the bar. But it's a slight improvement. It gives you hope Not like the games that we've played before, where it just sucks the life out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I just before we go on, one of my followers, Paul Jackson, he's trying to raise some money for a family who's been hit by COVID. So he's selling off quite a lot of the old retro Newcastle shirts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get his email address and I'm going to put it in the description of this live stream. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Paul and see if you can come to an agreement on prices, just drop him an email, because it's a good family he's trying to raise the money for, who've been badly hit by COVID. So I'll stick his email address in the description below. So whenever you want, just contact him on that email address. He'll contact you back straight away and arrange some sort of price. And then all the money that he raises from all his retro shirts is going to the family. So well done to Paul for doing that. Lovely gesture. Right, moving on. We've got a very sort of important game, I guess, on Saturday lunchtime at 12:30 against Everton. Now, we know Everton didn't really have their strongest side when they came up to St James's Park earlier in the season. They had a lot of injuries, Ben. I think it'll be a very different Everton lineup come this time.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, I haven't really kept an eye on their squad, but I know it's strong. I just think if we can get a point would be amazing. Obviously, in the whole context of things, away to Everton in the form we're in, a point's basically, it's a win. If we can get that and get to 20 points, I keep saying this, I've been tweeting it a lot recently, and I don't know if it's my mindset but I'm kind of thinking on behalf of the players. We've been stuck on 18 or 19 points for, it seems like, an eternity now.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
Get to that 2-0 and get to 20 points, and then you're looking at the other teams that below and thinking, oh, well, they're still in the teens, you know what I mean? You've got like Fulham on whatever it is, and then, Brighton. It's going to, and we're on 20 points. It's going to make us a little bit, I think psychologically, it's going to give us a little bit of an edge, if you know what I'm saying. We need to get the 20 points and then push on from there. But a point would be huge.
Stephen, I mean, obviously, Everton are going to, they drew with Leicester, but the one downside I see for Everton is their goalkeeper. Obviously, Pickford made another huge error last night. I don't know whether you saw it.
I said it was a
routine save, and then all of a sudden it ended in the back of the net. So if we can somehow try and get shots on this guy, we've always got a chance to score. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, I remember that 3-2 game, that pulsating game. We were 2-0 down at half-time, come back to win 3-2. And the Jordan Pickford was doing, just sticking his tongue out, the ball going out of play. And then when Perez put that third goal in, wasn't half going off it.
Yeah.
But getting back to Saturday, I just reckon our defenders have a word in his ear. If you've got a corner or something like that, just like try and bunch him out the way, just give him a little dig in the ribs and just have a little word in his ear. Just put his concentration off and, like say, take a shot, like a decent shot. And hopefully he'll squirm it. And even last year in the 2-0 down with a minute to go and get a 2-2 draw.
He doesn't play well. Crazy. It doesn't play well against us. No. I don't know, if it's the pressure or he kind of hits us too much to concentrate on the actual game. I can't work it out. I try and think how I'd put it. If I was a footballer and I was playing against Sunderland, I might be the same. I'd be just thinking, I want to beat these so much without actually concentrating on the game. But he doesn't play well against us now. He's definitely like a hoodoo. He's got multiple clangers. His goalkeeping in general is poor. So hopefully he'll start. I hope they don't drop him.
He's there. He's definitely there to get. He's definitely there to get at, isn't he? I mean, he is fragile without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, as for us, I mean, I've done my review today and I've gone back to a 4-2-3-1 because I genuinely think that's our best formation at the minute with the players we've got. But I've started in goal with Dubravka, Ben, because I just think, I said this on my show on Monday and I've said it in the review, I think now is the time where we need our very, very, very best players on the pitch. And although Darlow's done superbly well, he has looked a bit edgy in the last 3 games, which won't fill the defence with confidence. We need Dubravka back because he's vocal, he's a leader, and he's obviously a very, very good goalkeeper.
Totally agree with everything what you said then. I would have brought him actually back the other night. I think Darlow's done well to hold him off these last couple of games, but it's something I've picked up on. I've tried not to be too critical of Darlow in these last couple of games because, let's be honest, he's been absolutely outstanding this season.
Definitely.
I've never been his biggest fan. I've always felt he's got kind of like butterfingers, that the ball's often, it's gone straight through his hands. There's been numerous clangers he's dropped over the years, but this season I thought he's been exceptional. But saying that, in the last couple of games, you've got to think, since Dubravka's been back on that bench, he's looked hesitant. I don't know if it's the pressure of Martin being back in amongst it, but he's not looked the same as he has done in different games. I even thought that Leeds' second goal the other night, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit harsh because it was a free shot, but I feel like he could have done a lot more to keep that out. The angle across the goal, kind of. I don't know. Just he hasn't looked convincing to me. And his kicking's not getting any better. And I just think
I was going to say that his distribution's not great, is it? I mean, I think Darlow's never been the great kicker of the ball, to be honest with you. He has. There's just that element of doubt still in my mind. I mean, despite the fact that he's been so good this season, there's just that little bit of doubt, whereas Dubravka, he doesn't give that little bit of doubt. You can always have faith in him. Yes, he's made the odd mistake now and again, but everyone does, But Peter's just, good evening, Peter, one of the lads on my Four Horsemen show on a Monday. Hope you're well, buddy. Looks like Yedlin is on the way out of the club. I was going to come to the right-back situation, Stephen, because, for some reason, Steve Bruce, I think, has an agenda with Manquillo. I don't know what it is, but he seems to put him in for one game and then he's out for like 6 or 7. But clearly the way things are going on now, with Yedlin looking like he's heading out the door, Emil Kraft isn't good enough. Surely he's got to bring Manquillo back in for the Everton game.
Surely. I mean, never ever been a fan of Emil Kraft. I mean, he just gets caught out so much. I mean, how he recognises himself as a right back. He doesn't stop crosses. He doesn't get really much forward. He doesn't help the forwards. I mean, one last season where he supplied the cross for Almiron to score against West Ham. But other than that, I always criticise him because he just cannot defend. He lets balls go across him. Wingers get balls into the box. He's supposed to be there to stop crosses coming in. He doesn't do that. But Manquillo does that. That's why I've always liked Manquillo. I was pleased he signed a new contract because he can get forward. He can support the front line. So I would think it's a no-brainer to bring him back in. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally agree with you. Ben, for me, it's 4 at the back. I think we've got, I think it's 2 games in 25 that we've won playing 5 at the back. Yeah. I want a 4 at the back. So would you go 4 or 5?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, the stats don't lie. It's a commonly used phrase, but this is like, we've tried this 5 at the back. It just, under Bruce, it just does not work. I probably agree with you, mate. Probably just, like I say, I always felt like the formation we used to play, again, going back to Rafa, but under Rafa, the 4-2-3-1, or sometimes, it was a little bit different, but, he did like the 2 kind of midfielders sitting, and then the rest of them would attack. And I feel like that's always been our best formation. But if we can, I still think if we have a front 4 of Wilson, and then behind him you've got Almiron just fizzing about in the number 10, and then you've got Maxi and Fraser switching wings. That to me is good enough for attacking players that you could have them just in the top half, anywhere in the top half outside the top 6. I think those type of players. That's how highly I rate them. I feel like they are up there. We haven't got good depth in the squad, but them 4 starting, it can cause issues, and we shouldn't be in this position with those front players going into the next few games. We should be able to pull away, but we've got Bruce.
I haven't got Maxi starting for me on Saturday because I can't second guess Bruce. I don't know whether St. Maximin's fit enough to start. I've said that he'd probably play the majority of the second half depending on how the game goes. But obviously I'd love to see him start. But I agree there, Ben. That's the 4 that realistically I want to see up front for us because, they can do some damage to teams. Miggy proved that in the second half against Leeds United in the number 10 role. He just drove at the defence. And one thing I do want to discuss with you is who do we play in midfield? Because what I've said in my review is if Clark or Fernandez is fit, one of them alongside Jamal Lascelles, because let's face it, he's not going to drop Lascelles, is he? Would you play Shah in midfield? I'll start with you, Stephen.
I wouldn't play Shaw in midfield. I think he's better as a centre back. I mean, look where he played in midfield in that cup match against City in the quarter final. He was lost. I just think the best position for him is centre back alongside Lascelles, because I thought he had a brilliant game alongside Lascelles against their Leeds. I wouldn't start sharing midfield, no.
Yeah, the only reason I'm saying that is simply because of he kind of showed Shelvey and Hendrick what to do the other night, Ben, when it was sort of driving at the Leeds back four, coming through the midfield and driving at them. When was the last time we'd seen anybody do that apart from St. Maximin? I just think if he could play like that, have a Hayden there as a holding midfielder and Shaw bursting through with the ball, because it did create a lot of problems.
It would. I think it'd be hard to drop Shaw after that performance. He was like a man possessed. It's a funny one. It could go either way, but I think a lot of our problems this season have come from lack of options, but mainly lack of pace in midfield. Now, I just don't know how we got away with it at the start of the season when we picked up a few results, but we seem to get away with it. But Hendrick, he has no legs. Shelvey's never had legs. Longstaff doesn't think to have any legs for a young lad. Matty, a little bit more energy, but still, he's not the quickest. Hayden's the only one in there with legs. And what we've done in recent matches through, centre backs being injured, we've obviously have to pull Hayden back and put him in centre of defence. So again, we kind of we're losing it. We've lost all the legs in midfield, and we didn't really have any there to start with, really. So, but I think we need to get Hayden back into midfield, and I think it looks like Clark's training again. So
I heard that today.
Whether we see Clark and Lascelles for a bit more solidity, or keep Shaw and just say, look, we need another one of those performances, get forward. But it's a way to Everton. It's a tricky one. I can see Clark coming back in. I can't.
I mean, I think if he drops Shaw, it would be a travesty, because he's been better than Lascelles for a start. And just because Lascelles is captain shouldn't guarantee he gets in.
He's handsome bastard in the Premier League.
That's true. We are getting loads and loads of comments in, so I'm putting as many as I can on the screen, and I will read a few out, but keep them coming, because obviously a lot of you are making some good points there. Jason's made one there saying 18 games remain. We need 21 points to reach the magical 40. That's 7 wins or 16 draws and 2 wins, or 10 draws and 4 wins. Have to win a minimum of 2 games or losing no more than 4. Is it possible? Stephen?
He looks, reading that comment there, it looks possible to get 21 points. I mean, we only need 21 points. It's not as if we need 30 points, is it? It's doable if the players apply themselves like they did in that second half against Leeds.
Yeah.
Well, we could easily shoot up the table and get that point tally. Just players have to play like they did. Because it was good. You can't get away that it wasn't good. It was. That's what we're going to have to do. Play like that for the full 90. And then we can't really grumble, can we?
Yeah,
because our grumbles with Bruce.
Yeah.
And the players not applying themselves properly. Well, if you do this, and if you still get beat, then we say, well, at least they've had a good try. Said they've got beat, but said they've played well for 90 plus minutes. And you can't say no more than that.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? You just think, oh, God, you think, why can't we play like that? And you remember who the manager is. No, I mean, I think for me, we've gone through the front four, who we'd want. I think we're all unanimous on that. Midfield, for me, I'd play Hayden and Shah if Clark's fit. Left back's a problem for me. Jamal Lewis is really, really struggling, and I know there's a better player in there because he was fantastic at Norwich last season in a very, very poor team that went down. He was a standout player. What do you put down to his decline, Ben, or do you just think it's a lack of confidence because who his manager is at the moment? He's not getting that man management possibly that he needs from the coaches.
It's one of these things, and I think we've got a few players. I've said this about Miggy in the past when people have slated Miggy, and I think he's one of them players. If you put them in a better team that's playing well with a manager that knows what they're doing tactically and better players around them, I just think he's one of those type of players. There's quality there, but it's the same with Miggy. I think Miggy has this quality about him that any kind of, I'm not saying he'd be a certain starter for the top 6 or but the top 10 teams could do with someone like him. I mean, he started scoring the odd goal. Okay, he's not prolific, but he knows where the net is. He's got boundless energy, and I just think Lewis is a very similar player in the sense that if he was surrounded with better players and a manager that knew what he was doing, we'd see a much different side to him. But unfortunately, we're in this predicament with this clown in charge that we might never see it. We might never see his best qualities unless Bruce is sacked. So
yeah, it's a big shame. Before we move on to sort of transfers and things like that, give us your prediction for Saturday, then, Stephen.
I was trying to stay positive, as you know. I always do when I put my tweets on Twitter.
Even I've tried to be positive on my review. The preview of the game, I've actually tried to be positive and think, if we go out with the right mindset, but we always say that, and then we end up, going out like a...
I'll go on 2-1. That's what I would say, 2-1 to Newcastle. Yeah, okay. 2-1.
Ben, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I would love... It's one of them heart versus, head scenarios.
Yeah,
I would love to see us end this run. I'd love to go for just nick a point, but I can just see it being a defeat, and I honestly can see us being on Twitter again, and on the shows afterwards, just saying the same old stuff. Get him out, sack him. Yeah. It's not good enough, and that's all I can see. So I'm going to go 2-0 Everton, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone either 2-1 or 3-1 Everton. I hate going against Newcastle. I hate it because, Newcastle fan through and through. It's very hard to go against your team. But when you're playing this badly, you haven't won in 11 games. Steve Bruce is your manager. The club's bringing in another assistant for him, which for me is just confirming that he's not good enough for the job anyway. Yeah. It's just all up in the air. Now, obviously, moving on, we'll talk about this man, Graeme Jones. Obviously, he's coming from Bournemouth, had a spell at Luton Town as manager, which didn't go well, Ben. It went pretty badly for him at Luton Town. Looking at his CV, it's not really that fantastic. I mean, yes, he's been with Belgium and working under Martinez, but to be honest, he's not the sort of... For me, he's not the guy that needs to come in. I don't know about you, but I'm confused by the whole situation. And I've gone down the road today thinking the way he was speaking on his interview, he's our next manager.
Yeah. I mean, I said the same yesterday, and it was just so bizarre and so obvious. But it's just again, I keep seeing this line over and over again. It wouldn't happen at any other club. Stuff what happens here doesn't happen at a well-run club. So yesterday we had that 8-minute interview of a guy, and he's sitting down in his suit, and it was just bizarre. And I was reading some of the comments of what the Luton fans had said, and they said he's got no personality, and they were happy to see the back of him. And I said he has clearly he's picked tactical ideas up from Swansea and Everton and also Belgium, but personality wise, again, it's just it's just somebody who looks pretty much like a blank slate. I mean, he doesn't seem to. I don't know. I found myself switching off in the interview. It was a very boring.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. But just to clarify that, I do think he's been brought in to put pressure on Bruce, and I still think he'll be an interim manager within a few weeks, and he might even just take over till the end of the season, or when the takeover happens, or if it happens, whatever. But there was something bizarre about that, getting that man paraded around, and he was saying, I'm going to implement my ideas, and head coaches aren't brought in to do that. Head coaches are designed to just, be an extra body on the field and back the managers up. And, he was talking as if he was going to bring all of his ideas in. And I found that just absolutely bizarre. Really
crazy.
Strange.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, Stephen, sort of watching it, and then I'm thinking, he's come from Bournemouth, and a lot of the Bournemouth fans have sort of said good riddance. And he's a fan of 5 at the back, which is not something we need to hear right now.
No, it's not. We're crying out for fresh ideas, and you think if you'd brought somebody like him in, who doesn't have a great track record and he likes to play 5 at the back as well, we ain't going to ever get away from 5 at the back, are we? If he's at three assistants, that were both Dylan Bruce. Be your best player, 5 at the back. That's the only way to keep your defensive rigidity in the game. It just baffles me again. Why can't we play more attacking formation? But I could sit there and rant all night about being in these decisions.
I just find the whole thing just absolutely bizarre. I really do. I can't understand it. For me, it's the club saying, Steve Bruce, you're not good enough. We need to bring somebody else in to work alongside you. But as you say, Ben, you know, I can definitely see him being the interim manager within a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks to a month, if results haven't picked up. And when you look at who we're actually going to be playing, you know, Palace, fair enough. You would look at that game and think, yes, there's definitely some opportunity there to get 3 points without a shadow of a doubt at home. But then again, we didn't play well at Palace until the last 5 minutes and nicked the game. But I just think the games we got coming up, if this Jones bloke is a favour of 5 at the back, Ben, we're in trouble.
We are. And that Palace one, I mean, regardless of what happens on Saturday, that Palace game is huge. If we lose that, I mean, you know, people say, oh, you know, it's too early to say, like, you know, we're down or we're finishing that. And yeah, you know, we are all a bit pessimistic at times. And I'm the worst one for it. You know, I regularly tweet, that's it, we're relegated. And it's still January. Like, we're actually not. But if you look at them fixtures, man, if we don't pick points up against teams like Palace, then we are screwed, because we're not going to start pulling off these crazy shock results like Sheffield did last night. We might be lucky and get 1, but we're not going to get 2 or 3 or 4 of them in the remaining games. You know,
we've never looked like scoring more than 1 goal, to be honest, in a match. That second half against Leeds when we could have done. But Jason there says, look at me with all the stats. I've done more research on the club, and I'm a Londoner Toon fan. And Steve Bruce is a local lad and self-proclaimed fan. Even Graeme Jones knows more than him. Yes, he does. I would say that Graeme Jones is more qualified than Steve Bruce. I don't see Steve Bruce is just absolutely pathetic. He's inept. He doesn't know how to change a game or what to do if things are going wrong. He just accepts defeat for me, and it's just not good enough. Paul Jackson says there, it wouldn't surprise me if Kinnear came back. Now, let's not push it. I just, Jesus Christ, that would cause a little bit of uproar.
I think that would finish us off, wouldn't it?
Oh, God, aye. Totally. 100% Mags, how's it going, guys? We're all right. Thank you for tuning in. And Trill says, Ashley is so stupid that I look like the new Einstein. He is. I mean, Ashley's been made to look a fool, really, if we go down. I mean, it's all down to Ashley. If we get relegated, he has lost so much money. He'll still probably sell the club in the EFL because, obviously, the price will have gone down, but the takeover isn't as stringent in the EFL as it is in the Premier League. But he'd lose millions, Stephen.
Oh, he would. I mean, I think he would lose between 100 and 150 million off his price he's already agreed with PIF. If we were relegated, I mean, he can't really. He's took a risk by staying with Bruce for this long. I mean, he's with him staying with him till the end of the season. Yet, I would have thought he wants to protect his asset and he wants the full 350 million or whatever he's agreed. He's going to have to take some risks, and he's taking this risk with Bruce. So I would have myself, if I was chairman, I would have seen the way results was going. I would have got rid of Bruce. I would have at least brought somebody competent in, like a Eddie Howe or something like that, to steady the ship to the end of the season, in the full knowledge of Eddie Howe knowing that a takeover may be in the offing, so he may not have a job at the end of it, with probably landing up Rafa, and he probably say, yeah, that's okay, and then if he keeps him up, then that's good on his record.
I mean, Ben, I've said time and time before that if he was going to make a change, I would bring somebody like Nigel Pearson in simply for his discipline, etc., and the fact that he knows how to get a team out of the mire, and he knows how to motivate the team and get the players playing for him. And with his links already to Newcastle, I just thought that they could bring him in on an interim basis, waiting for the takeover to happen. And if the takeover did happen, there would be some sort of job in the long run at the club for Nigel Pearson. So he wouldn't just be coming in and just staying for a few games and then out he goes again. There'd actually be something there for him in the long run. I just think the players need somebody there who is going to really be that disciplinarian, kick them up the arse and get the very best out of them for the rest of the season.
I totally agree. Like we said, like we touched on last week on Stephen Shorts. Like, I think there's different types of managers. Like, you can have the one that's going to do it. You know, he's a bit of a disciplinarian.
Yeah.
He's got the authority about him, and he'll kind of drag the results out of them or push the lads to get results. And then you've got, like, you know, the tactical magicians, kind of, what, you know, like the Rapids, what we've had, and we're probably not going to get one of them. But anyone apart from Bruce would be absolutely fantastic. The way they look at it is would Pearson get more points than Bruce? I think he would. I think he'd come in and get a few results straight off the bat. Maybe a draw, a win. You know, that's just me guessing, but I think he would. I think there'd be a reaction. I think there'd be a fear factor of, we're going to get a bollocking here if we don't pull one out the bag here. You know what I mean? And I just, let's be honest, they don't respect Bruce. They don't fear him. He hasn't got the tactical, side of it to push them that way. He really doesn't offer anything apart from, we touched on it the other week, being a friend. And they don't want to be his friend. The professional footballers, they want to win games. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what they want.
I mean, you know, I think we're all sort of pretty much baffled by the whole Jones situation and what's going on, and whether or not it works. I mean, personally, obviously, with being a fan, I hope it does work. I hope Jones comes in and changes how we play. You know, but you know what's going to happen when Jones makes a suggestion to Steve Bruce and Bruce then turns around and says, "No, I'm going my way." That's just going to create problems straight away from the off. And Steve Bruce seems to me the kind of guy who is very stubborn and set in his ways, and won't change something that he believes is right. And this is where the problem with Jones will come in, I think, in the long run, but we'll see. We'll move on to transfers now, because obviously there's been a lot of transfer talk today, especially with this guy, Matt Ritchie. Now, 100% Mag says there, I think we should send Matt Ritchie to Bournemouth in a swap for King. We need goal scorers more right now, and King and Wilson up top would be great together, in my opinion. Now, Matt Ritchie's a strange one for me, because a lot of people commented how much he's a workhorse and things like that and puts 100% in. Yes, he does, but now is the time where we need more than that. We need, his crossing's abysmal. Yeah. It's gone right downhill lately, and I just think we need somebody with a bit more creativity. Yes, he's a workhorse, but we need more than that, Stephen.
Yeah, we definitely need more. I mean, you kind of win games on passion alone with... Matt Ritchie has bags of passion. We all know that, with kicking the hell out of the corner flag.
I don't think anybody can ever doubt the passion he's got. It's just, I think he's his standard has lowered a bit, i.e. the crossing, where we need balls into the box, and he's not providing them. And it's all right saying he puts 110% in, but I think it would be a good move for him to go back to Bournemouth.
I think it would. I mean, you push him for promotion, he'd be welcomed back with open arms. I mean, if you could... integrate something to try and get King on a swap deal or something like that. I'd be 100% behind that.
I agree.
I think the problem is with Josh King, Ben, that he's asking for humongous wages, and I don't really know where he gets where this wages come from, because he's not exactly prolific in the Championship, and he hasn't been prolific for a while. So asking for what's banded around is 100 grand or more. It's bizarre, and there's no way Ash's going to pay that, is he?
No, I can only assume it's going to be a similar scenario as to maybe Fraser, and to a little degree, maybe a lesser degree, Wilson, because both of those players, it was well reported they were holding out for certain amounts of money off the bigger teams, and it didn't come. And then I would truly believe with both of them, we were a backup option. Maybe Villa rivaled us with Wilson, and he chose us thinking, Villa haven't done much for years, I'm going to go for the Toon. And I think he's probably kicking himself there. But I can only assume Kings took it out, a leaf out of their book, and thought, look, I'm going to try and get 100 grand. If not, I'll get 90 or 80 or whatever, and then eventually might settle for 70. I don't know, but I just think the thing with Ritchie as well, I just want to touch on before we move on, is that all good things come to an end and nothing lasts forever. Now, the Ritchie from 4 or 5 years ago, he's been such a great servant for this club. His attitude's amazing. He actually had some really good quality, 3 or 4 years ago. Even when we came up to the Premier League, you could see that the step up was harder for him to score goals, but he was still putting in amazing performances. But you could argue since that Chowdhury tackle, he was never quite the same player. And I just think it's time for him to go. Like I say, I think it was bizarre how him and Shelby both got the 3-year deals. That's not like us offering 30-year-olds or 31-year-olds. I mean, or Shelby's a little bit younger, but with Richie, like, he's 31 now, 32 this year, and it's just, I think the time's right. He's a great player. It doesn't mean he's been crap for us. He's been great. But, you can't keep, it's the same with Gale, though. You can't keep all these players forever. They're coming into the final years of their playing career. They're going to go at some point, and we're not going to lose everybody for free. That's the way I look at it. We ain't going to let them all leave on free transfers.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think for Matt Ritchie, it would extend his career a little bit. They could play him more, maybe move him into centre midfield or some kind of position like that where he can act as a holding midfielder for them. I just think it's a good move for him because, like you say, Ben, good things come to an end. I think he's been fantastic for us, and let's not forget he scored some very important goals for us as well. Yeah. Against the likes of Manchester United, etc. That have given us a lot of points, and nothing can take away his desire, his enthusiasm for the club. He's been a fantastic servant, but like you say, I think good things come to an end. Archer, good evening to you, mate. Hope you're well. There is a player arriving at Newcastle to have a private medical tomorrow, but don't know who it is. But if it's who I think it is, then it's got to be Jethro. Now, we've mentioned Jethro Willems a few times. I know he's been bandied about on Twitter a lot today. What do you think, Stephen?
Oh yeah, I hope it is him because I think we're all fans of Jethro Willems because what he did when he was on loan at Newcastle. Yeah, till he got his injury against Chelsea. I mean, you say what he can defend and he can score goals as well. That beautiful strike against Liverpool, he took it on his foot, took it past Alexander-Arnold, rifled it in top corner. That one against City as well.
Yeah.
He's in the corner as well. He's an all-round player, man. I'd be 100% behind that because I think he's always been destined to come back. And if it wasn't for his injury, he didn't get that bad injury, he'd have been a Newcastle player already. I'm 100% certain of that.
I saw a tweet tonight where someone had said I had to call them out on it because I just thought it was ludicrous. Said something along the lines of Rose was a better player than. I try not to bite these days. I try to be a bit more chilled out and be kind and think before you tweet. But I couldn't let that one go because I just thought it's nonsense. It's like, to be honest,
I was going to put a comment on that because I seen it and I thought, nah. I mean, I don't get where they're coming from with that.
No, it's not true. I mean, Rose was a few years back was one of the best left backs in the world. But he's a few years older than Jethro. Jethro has been unlucky with injuries, but quality-wise and performance-wise, Jethro was just getting better and better and better and better every week. He was scoring goals and he has like an elegance to his play. You can see he's come through like all the Dutch academies and that, and he's just such a total footballer. He's got that Dutch style of player for a left back. And Rose is just, let's be honest, he was just lazy. He's got no. I mean, look, where's he at now? He's still at Spurs. He's not interested. He's not interested in football anymore. You know what I mean? He's finished.
That's what I was going to say. Danny Rose's attitude was just completely wrong for me. If he wanted to really continue his career, he would have A, played better for us last season, and B, he would have looked to have come back because the opportunity was there. I think there's no doubt about that. I think if Danny Rose had wanted to come back, Bruce would have taken him. But for me, Willems is just an all-round player. He's got a fantastic relationship with the fans. He loves the club. And we want players like that. We want players that have a bit of sort of blood and guts for the team and the badge and the strip, rather than just these prima donnas going out and just jogging around the pitch. But I just think Willems is just it has to be. It's got to be a signing that we have to make. Jason says, I believe it's Chowdhury, guys, as club's still deep in talks with Jethro. Well, that's what I have heard. I mean, Chowdhury's come up loads of times. I believe Chowdhury is on the radar. I'm not so sure about Chowdhury myself. I've made this quite well known. I think he's got a bit of a sort of ticking time bomb in his head sometimes. I'm not just talking about the tackle on Richie. I've watched him, and he does go in hard, which is fair enough, but he's careless. And that's what we don't need at the minute, Stephen, because he could turn out to be another Shelby and putting stupid tackles in and getting sent off.
I know, man. Like you say, if he comes in, I'll obviously support him, and if he does well, then yeah, all right. But I've never liked him since he made that tackle on Richie, since he nearly broke his leg. Because, like you say, when he goes in, really two-footed tackle with going out of control. I mean, if he goes in like that on somebody, ends a career, gets a red card, and then how can you go into a game thinking you're 10 men down, you're playing with 10 men if he's going into tackles like that?
Yeah, especially with VAR now as well, because he didn't get a red for that one with Richie. He would now. He would now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think, Ben, we don't need a careless player in midfield. We need a boxing guy. Like we talked about.
Like that for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Till he got told, you're going to have to calm yourself down a bit. You can't keep going into games with being a 10 men down. And I'm giving him his due. He really has calmed down a lot.
It's calmed
He's
too much.
picked up the odd yellow card. But he hadn't had a red card in months, has he? Because he used to fly into tackles, but now he doesn't. He's like more conservative.
All I can think with Chowdhury is they're going to kind of put him in as just a hatchet man, like midfield destroyer, and then you're going to have maybe Hayden freed up to bomb forward, because he used to be more offensive than he is now. He was developing into a really good kind of box-to-box player. He scored a couple of goals in the Championship, a few goals in the Premier League that first season when we come back up, and he was very direct. He would bomb on in a straight line and push play forward, and then we just started using him solely as a defensive midfielder, which I think he's got so much more to his game than that. And I think the idea, just my opinion, is they would stick Chowdhury in for certain games, especially some of these tough away games coming up, and just have him and Hayden being a little bit more mobile, a bit more dynamic, and just letting the front four players concentrate on attacking. I don't know. I just think we've got no legs, and I don't know how quick Chowdhury is, but he's got to be quicker than some of this crap what we've got floating around midfield at the minute, you know.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is that he's not in Leicester's first team plans now. If he was this good of a player, surely Brendan Rodgers would be playing him a bit more. And I just think this is where we are as a club at the minute. We shopping in bargain basement now, rather than sort of looking up the ladder and getting players from bigger clubs. We start to sort of, I mean, that's no disrespect to Leicester. I mean, sort of as in he's not in their first 11, and he's very rarely in their first 11. And he hasn't played a lot of Premier League football. So there's obviously something that Brendan Rodgers isn't too sure about him. But again, is he a player that's going to get us out of the mire when we really need players who are going to fight for every single ball? I mean, I don't know. Stephen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right there, Paul. I don't know either. Like we said, we're going to need everybody to step up and put some decent performances in. Yeah. And if Chowdhury does come in and starts games, he's going to have to. The other players are going to have a word with him to say, right, I know you've got a bit of a temperament, but you're going to have to calm that down. So we can't afford to go 10 men down because we're trying to win games and avoid relegation. So just calm yourself down a bit. Said by all means do a tackle, but do it like do it fairly. Don't jump in and get yourself yellow carded or red carded, and he's on a tightrope, isn't he? So I would say he needs to calm down if he's ever goes into the starting lineup.
I mean, Ben, there's one for you. Why don't we go for Damari Gray? He's tipped to join Palace for 1.8 million this month. I mean, he's got talent, Damari Gray, no doubt about it. But again, he hasn't been involved, has he? But 1.8 million is a bit of a snip with prices these days.
It is, especially with we've had Alan injured for a long time, and if he got injured again, I mean, I know it was more COVID related, but it'd be a nice little option to kind of just bring a bit of pace in, because I think he's still only 24. He's got a hell of a lot of potential still, that lad. He was very much sought after a couple of years ago, but I think he was on our list. I do hear the odd whisper. I've got a couple of people that keep us in the loop, and I did hear he was on the list of he said the consortium. He thought he was a young, cheap player that he could have, still had a lot of potential. So I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I'd take him. You know what I mean? I think he'd offer something in a more dynamic sense, bombing forward, it's just we just don't seem to have the. We touched on it the other week on Stephen's show. It's just like we don't have the strength and depth in the squad. It's like the first 11, especially the attacking players, the front four, up to, like I say, I've said numerous times, they're up there with I think the top, in the top half of the Premier League. But we just haven't got the backup. You know what I mean? We like I don't know. Yeah. Oh God, don't get started on him.
It's a Geordie. I don't think is keen on bringing Josh King in. He says he's crap. Never proved himself in the Premier League or Championship. He hasn't. To be fair, he hasn't. He's not really proved. I don't know whether crap's the right word, but he doesn't.
I don't think he's crap. I think it's harsh to call him crap. I mean, if he was to work with Wilson and all the other Bournemouth lads like Fraser, they all know each other's game inside out. I would think he would add something to the start lineup. I mean, I know it's a bit controversial, but I would take King 100%. Just the partner up top with Wilson and go a bit 4-4-2.
One of the rumours that there was a few other teams involved, like Everton and West Ham, and I did hear a little rumour that he was holding out for us, which sounds bizarre, but he does know Jones. And he does know Wilson and Fraser, and there could be an element there. I think. Yeah, but he might pass him in the corridor.
Paul says I'm not comfortable getting more players from Bournemouth. I think the business we've done with them is enough. It does seem strange that we're doing so much business with Bournemouth. I mean, I don't know where it comes from, to be honest. It just seems like every single player that we've been recently linked to is either Bournemouth, has links to Bournemouth, or the managers.
It's weird.
It's very, very strange.
I think they just had they did have some good players, and they were kind of maybe he's not for the top teams, but kind of we were at this, especially in the summer when we made the signings. I think we were the kind of right club for them, especially with the price as well. Fraser was free, which obviously we love freebies, and Wilson. God, Wilson, we had to pay the money, but we knew we needed to pay that because we needed a proven goal scorer. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's more to it than that. I think it's just maybe it's a coincidence. But it'd be funny if Howe came in as well. I think we could have a good laugh about that.
Would just top it off, wouldn't it?
That would be a bit of a piss take, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 100% Mag says, yeah, we could also go for Lingard to replace John Joe in the centre. Stephen.
Man, I think Lingard's on his way to West Ham, I think. So I've seen. I wouldn't take Lingard either. I know he's had a lot of trouble with his personal life, but I just think he's just too concentrated on his image. I mean, he's jailings and all this crap.
I think he's a massive waste of a talent. I really do.
He is, yeah. He was really
about his career. He's been out on loan that many times, and he's gone back to Man United to try and make a go of his career. But I just don't think he'd be good enough.
No,
I mean West Ham would take anybody on loan. He just that Lings thing, whatever it is, like that. I just kind of buy a lot of it. I'm not keen on him at all. I mean,
Jason says yes. Confirmed. For the rest of the season at West Ham, so that's that gone. All gone. 100% Mags. Sky Sports report that West Ham have agreed a deal. So I think West Ham will take a
clause down there. You can promote his J-Link clause. His clothing brand.
It's probably where he's always wanted to go, would be London, just for that particular reason.
He like that lifestyle, I think, wouldn't he?
Of course he will.
Thinks he's sort of a gangster and all. So
I take it you don't like him very much, Steve.
I don't think he's a fan. You're not a fan.
Never liked him. When he was linked with Newcastle, I didn't want him at Newcastle. I just think he's a pretty boy and
I fully support you. I honestly, I feel the same, and I think it's a shame because he did well, like you said, for all them loans what he had at Man U, and then to come back and actually be starting for England and Manchester United, and was actually scoring goals. And I don't know what happened in the personal life, but I know there was something. But it's just gone downhill, man. And then he's got this attitude. He's like a man child, isn't he? It's like he must be like 28-year-old now. And some of the videos he was making, last year, I was like, come on,
it's a shame because the guy, the kid had bags of talent. And you look at footballers like that wasting the talent. As you say, he got in the England side. He was, one of the best up-and-coming kids without a shadow of a doubt, because I remember him being on loan at Birmingham. He was setting the world alight. You know, his form he had there was incredible. Anyone says, I love Jethro, but I don't see Ashley spending money when he can get him for free in 6 months. Who knows? I mean, whether Ashley's got a deal in place, you know, paying a loan fee for the rest of the season, as long as it's I wouldn't say he'll pay big bucks for a loan fee, Ben, but he'll certainly be looking at it as in, right, is it a few 100,000 just for a loan deal? And then obviously we'll pick him up on a free at the end of the season.
That's it. And apparently they do want him off the books. He's not playing for them, and he's just at the minute he's just wages for them. And as far as I know, it was mentioned a year ago or so, but they were willing to let him go in January. That was always the rumour. And I think that still will happen. It'll be a nominal fee. It won't be much. It'll just be like kind of, you know, just a couple of, if anything, just a couple of 100,000, if that. And I think I don't know. I think we might see him tomorrow. I think there might be something in that one. I really do. I think Richie will go.
You got to for Sky Sports, Ben, with what you've been tweeting.
Well, I just, I have honest. I mean, like I say, I'd never pass anything on if I didn't think it was legit. Like, but I was lucky enough to hear something about Richie yesterday, and I think to say, I mean, I did. I think I was one of the first ones to mention this Richie to Bournemouth, and then you got Craig Hope picking up on it and Lee Ryder, and I did hear something yesterday where there was an offer there, and it was kind of getting it in writing today. So I thought, like, you know, I'll pass it on to you. And that to me, that looks like what's happening. It looks like he's going to, the offer's there from Bournemouth, and it looks like he's going out, and we're bringing Jethro in. That's what it looks like. But we'll see what happens over the weekend.
I mean, the thing is, it makes me laugh quite a few times, because I sort of, you know, if I tweet out about a player transfer and stuff, I'm not going to lie. I have got sources within Newcastle United who I've known for a very, very long time, and that's some of the information comes out. But when people say, "Oh, who's your source? Who's your source?" It doesn't matter. I'm not going to say who they are, and Ben, you won't say either, because you can't. And it's just, you know, they're giving us information, you know, but they're only giving us information that they're allowed to give us. I never get information from any source that I have that isn't legit and it shouldn't come out. You know, not like, you know, top secret stuff. It's just, I know people at the club, and I have done for a very, very long time. That's the only reason I know these things and tweet them out. And Ben, you probably the same. And then people get on your back straight away and say, well, where's all this bullshit coming from and all of this? And you think, well, it's not, you know, but people just get on your back straight away just for trying to give people information.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've done it most of the network and through Twitter, rather than actually knowing these people firsthand. I've developed a good relationship with 2 or 3, especially. It's mainly the connection is I know them and they know let's say the source of the information. So I'm getting it kind of like third hand, but it's still very much almost, you know, it's direct from kind of the source, if you will. And I feel like it's, you know, I could just not pass it on, but there's 2 or 3 people telling us things at the minute where I feel like, you know, I've had a few little nails on the head recently, and I'm going to keep putting it out there, because if you guys have the same info, I'd like to receive it. You know what I mean? We all just with Newcastle United, mad. And just bring it on. Let's, you know, any snippets, just, you know, it's the kind of inner kid inside of you. It never goes away. Like the transfers, like we're shit, but we're still getting hyped up for Jethro. Like, you know what I mean? Like it never goes away, does it? You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't, and that's why I like passing the information out as well. 100% Mag says this is one for you, Stephen, because I know you've just started playing this. Vilker is amazing on FM 21. There you go. Get him in the side.
I've got him out on loan anyway. Bristol City.
I think you need to give him a recall. Get him recalled. Right, let's have a look. Great show tonight, lads. 41 watching, hit the like button. Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, if you're enjoying what you're watching, do hit the like button. Thanks very much. If you are new to the channel as well, do subscribe. I've had an absolute barrage of subscriptions over the last 3 weeks, which has been fantastic. But it's thanks to, you know, all the guys that come on the show and everyone that takes part as well. Trill says, hope we get Jethro. We need a left back with some muscles and he won't be pushed aside. That's what I liked about Jethro, the fact that he was strong on the ball. He wasn't easy knocked off. He liked getting stuck in. And, you know, if you compare him, he's a similar build to Joe Linton. But Joe Linton's quite the opposite in that he falls over like a feather. You know, he just doesn't use his size to his advantage. Whereas Jethro is that kind of player who will use his size, Ben.
Yeah, he was strong as an ox, wasn't he? And hopefully he still is. He was just a really good left back. Like I say, he had a bit of pace, bit of power, good shot on him. You know, he was not bad in the air, and he attracted his mind. Could have maybe been a little bit more, defensive minded at times. You know, maybe backed off a little bit, but in general, I thought he was. I mean, that's been critical. I thought he was great. And like I said, I put the tweet out today. I in my opinion, he's obviously only played for us for 6 months, but I think he was up there with me for players like Bernard and even Enrique.
Yes.
Very different players, but definite solid quality left back. Really good.
It's certainly what we need. And I from what I've heard, I genuinely believe that tomorrow or Saturday or maybe over the weekend, I think Jethro will be our player again. I do.
I'll be over the moon with it. I love Jethro since he come in. I mean, he's got a good close relationship with San Maximin, hasn't he? Bringing them to the best.
That'd be great, mate. Them for 18 or 19 games, whatever's left, I don't know now. But bombing down the left, just reuniting that partnership, I think that'll offer us a little bit of a different dynamic. Rather than Richie and Joe Linton or something or Dummett and Big Joe. It's not very dynamic, is it? You know what I mean?
Do you know what I think he'd actually bring? Do you know what I think he'd bring? A bit of character back to the dressing room, because he seems to be that kind of guy, a joker, but he also has a serious head on as well. And he just brings a bit of life back to the dressing room, because you can just imagine him and St. Maximin joking around in the dressing room, getting the lads up for it, having a good laugh. But when it comes to the crunch of a match day, being in that dressing room and like you said before, Stephen, just being there for the young'uns and that kind of person that they need in the dressing room right now, just to give everybody a lift. Jason says there, Chowdhury, 1 goal in 65 games. Strength is his engine. He has a temper, and I'm still iffy about him. That's the one thing I'm worried about, is his temper. I mean, not many people.
That's what I'm worried about with him.
I just think he's aggressive in the tackle. I mean, there you go. Jules says Chowdhury wants to be aggressive for long. He will be bruised. I think that's the problem also of attracting players, Stephen, is just the fact that, the players aren't stupid. They've seen the decline of Newcastle over the season, and some of the bigger names have even dropped in their performance, and they'll think, well, why do I want to go to Newcastle and possibly be completely out of form and ruin any chances I've got of really moving up the ladder?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we called for Darlow to get in the England squad and Wilson, because the way Wilson started the season was brilliant, and we think he deserved to get in the England squad with the performance he was putting in and the goals he was knocking in. Yeah. Even Darlow, with the sales he was putting off, man of the match performances in nearly every game. And to think he puts Pickford every week, he's like the number 1 keeper for England, when he's absolutely crap for Everton. You just call him Butterfingers, because he just kind of save a shot. I mean, what is the point?
I'll never understand how he's number 1 at all. I just, I think Southgate just picks them and just leaves them at that. He's got his squad, and that's what he'll do. He'll keep everybody in there.
He even picked Jesse Lingard and said, "What the hell's he picking Jesse Lingard for the England team for? I mean, what's he done to deserve that?" Because he plays
we could do a whole show on Southgate, because I don't rate him at all, and we should get into it when the next squad's announced and get through it, because it's just some of them picks recently have been absolutely bizarre.
What really pisses me off about the England manager is every single one of them that comes in, sits there in the press conference, before any game they've played, and they'll say, I'm going to pick players based on their form. And it never sudden happens. Never, ever have you seen an England squad based on form. Because I tell you something, if it was based on form, right, that England squad would be completely different to what we know it as at the minute, because the goalkeepers wouldn't be there for a start. Henderson only plays cup games. How does that warrant international place?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, why is that in the England team? My dad can't stand Eric Dyer. So what the hell is he doing in the England team? He can't stand them.
I totally agree. Phillips, who plays for Leeds, who is actually a good player, he's done well this season, but he was in the squad before he'd even kicked the ball in the Premier League, and I just thought that was outrageous. You know what I mean? You had Hayden, who'd been pretty much doing what he was doing, in a struggling team for the last
completely
couple
agree.
of years, completely ignored, and he just chose Phillips, who was a championship player. I mean, he is a good player, but it's not on really, is it? It's not a good thing.
No, it's not. But we all know by now, that's how England work. They're very, very, it's as if you come further north than bloody Manchester, they forget about England. The classes has been in Scotland, I'm sure they do, to be honest, the way it goes on, and the players that have been left out. Everyone says NUFC scouting should look for Sambi Lakonga from Anderlecht, similar profile to Sumaria, but a lower cost. I just think with the pandemic going on at the minute, I think overseas players are a little bit difficult. Jetro, I believe, is in the country, so that's the difference with him. I just think trying between now and the end of the transfer window to get international players in is going to be very difficult. I think that's why the transfer market has been quiet this month. But I believe Jetro's been in the country for about 2 weeks now, which says to me, Ben, he's been in quarantine already and he's ready to go. Oh, he's frozen. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, if you saying he's been like that, then yes, and he's been told to do his 2 weeks quarantine, and he's coming to the end of it, or he's already done it. So I would, like I say, I just wondered how the club would announce it. There was one of them transfer announcement videos. He's back, or something like that. Then I would love him back. I mean, it's.
Yeah,
he's one of my favourite players since he left that mark on me. Is that he just brilliant? I mean, he's left the mark on 100 Newcastle fans.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure performances with his strike against Liverpool, Manchester City, it's just great. I mean, I love him.
Colin Frew says, why is Jetro not in? No brainer for me. And bring Kabay back. Even at 35, he'd offer more than Shelby or Jazzy Jeff. Hey, just on Ben there, I don't know if he'll be coming back or not, because he was only scheduled to come on for an hour tonight because he's got some family commitments. So he has gone now. So I think I don't think he'll be coming back actually to the live stream because he does have some family commitments. But we'll go on for a little bit longer, Stephen.
Yeah, no problem.
Juan Kabay was one of my favourite players for a long time.
Was for me.
We talked about having legs in midfield. I don't think he'd be an option, but it's a good shout. Hendrick looks like he's just came from Woodstock. I don't know.
Jesus. Oh, another incarnation of Jesus.
He's not for me. Absolutely not for me at all. I can't get away with him. I can't get away with him either. He's had one good performance against West Ham. Yep,
and his debut, and that was it for me. The absolute dross for the rest of the season. He's just been absolutely woeful. When he's getting picked in the starting lineup in teams, you see him, you watch these games, and you don't hear his name hard, and then you see him come off the pitch and say, was he actually playing? Because he's that ineffective in games.
Well, that's what I said against Leeds United. I think it was in the second half that the commentator turned around and said, oh, that's a good defensive clearance from Hendrick. And I forgot he was actually on the pitch. I think that's the first time he'd been mentioned in the second half. We'll rattle through some more comments. Archer, good evening again. If the club do decide to keep Steve Bruce until the end of the season, that's got to be another 18 games listening to his press conferences. It's like listening to his own diarrhea. It's just full of shit. You know what, Archie? You're perfectly bang on there, mate. You really are. Tom Dixon says the next 3 games are crucial. If we lose those next 3 games, he has to go. I think he has to go now. He's
outstayed his welcome for me. He should have gone ages ago for me.
Without a doubt, completely agree. Paul says that would be a steal for a player like Jetro. Very good business if it would have happened. Look, guys, I can only go off what I've been told today is that Jetro is in the country, and this weekend he could possibly be a Newcastle United player again. It's probably looking like a loan deal just till the end of the season, and then they will bring him on board in the summer for free. And that's the news I have. Whether it's going to be right or wrong, I don't know. I can only go off what I've been told. So don't shoot me if I'm wrong, guys. Daniel King, what do you think about Graeme Jones? I think Bruce loses against Everton and Palace, then he takes over at the end of the season. We discussed this before, Daniel, earlier in the show. We are genuinely believing that Graeme Jones will be the next interim manager of the club. I think, Stephen, we said about 3 to 4 weeks, didn't we? And then if results still haven't gone our way, I think Bruce will be out the door and Jones will be in.
Yeah, I mean, that's why all he's been brought in for. I mean, if these results don't improve, then that's why they brought this Jones fellow in, just so he can take over at the end of the season. That's why they paid that compensation for Bournemouth, the 250,000 or something it was, wasn't it? I think it was. He's just going to be the interim manager at the end of the season if Bruce eventually gets sacked.
I just don't understand why he spent 250 grand. You know, that could have been gone to Bruce's exit, you know, his contract ripped up. Charles says, no matter where I ask about Vilka, no one takes it up. Do you know what? I've mentioned him a few times, Jewel, and I think he's a very, very good player. And I don't understand why he's not getting an opportunity, because this guy came in as the next Nobby Solano. There was a lot of talk about him in the under-23s performing really well. But, you know, this is the problem we've got with Steve Bruce. He doesn't give youngsters a chance, Stephen. And, you know, we've said it many times with the players that have gone by in the past, like Watts last season should have been in earlier than he was, and he's let him go on loan. You know, Anderson is sitting there on the bench week in, week out, and he's had like 3 minutes of football in the Premier League. He needs to play youngsters and needs to blood them.
Yeah, I mean, what's the harm in giving the youngsters a run out? I mean, I was shocked that he sold that Barleza to Rotherham. I think it was. I thought he was performing very well in pre-season. I thought he was going to get a run out in the first term. I thought, well, yeah, he's been around the club for a while. He probably deserves a chance to get a few games, and just to sell him off to Rotherham, I think it was a bit pathetic myself. But Anderson needs to get in the team more. I mean, you seen what he did against Arsenal, the FA Cup. And I know he didn't play much in league games, but he showed promise, and that's what we want for youngsters. But like you say, youngsters don't get much of a chance in Newcastle 11s.
Yeah. Tom says we'll probably end up with Phil Jones. Jesus Christ.
Absolutely not.
No. I think whenever we rumoured with Phil Jones, I just sort of come over all like ice. Tom says Tottenham 0, Liverpool 1 at half time. Liverpool need to prove a point in the Premier League this season because they've gone right off the boil. Life's a beautiful mess. We didn't really see enough of Jetro, unfortunately. He looked pretty decent in some games, but we haven't seen enough to really judge. Having said that, he's better than what we have. You know, I mean, everybody's going to have opinions on signings coming in, whether they like players or they don't. And everyone's going to have different opinions on how well they think a player's going to do. I just think Jetro can do something on and off the pitch for the team. I think he'd give everybody a lift in the dressing room, just from his personality, the way he talks, the way he, conducts himself off the pitch. And on the pitch, you know, I think he's a decent player. I think he's definitely better than what we've got, Stephen. We've already said this a million times, that he's better than what we've got. And I think he'll do, for someone like Jamal Lewis, just to put his arm around Jamal Lewis and give him a bit of a lift.
That's what I was just going to mention there, man, Paul. Yeah, it would like just to come in and like just like for that be that the voice in the dressing room, for even just to help Jamal Lewis out.
Yeah, exactly. Sad thing, Phil Jones probably better than else. Oh, Jesus. You still there, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, just to keep helping him out. I mean, it's put an arm around him, just show him, said, you're good enough. Said, you just need to keep this, I'll like a mentor kind of partner up with Jetro, and just like let Lewis learn off him to make him a brilliant left back, because he can be a great left back.
Yeah,
I know it's his only second season in the Premier League. I mean, he keeps getting stick off people. I mean, we give the lad a chance. He's only been in the Premier League for his second season. I mean, he's learning, isn't he?
He's got a long way to go, but he has got the potential. We saw the potential at Norwich last season. We know what he can do. It's just a case of just giving him that little bit of time. Maybe a bit of time out won't do the lad any harm at all. He just needs to regroup. Archer says, I would love it if Steve Bruce tells Mike Ashley to bend over and pulls cabbage from his crack for his Sunday dinner. Oh, Jesus Christ, Archer. The problem with Newcastle is they don't have a sitting midfield to break up two proper wingers. Well, we know it's just all over the place. Darlow isn't good enough for England, in my opinion. Again, it's all about opinions. I think earlier in the season, Darlow was definitely good enough. Now, he's had a few shaky games, but like we said earlier, that could well be down to the fact that, Dubravka's breathing down his neck now.
You could tell that straight away. He's when he's coming to claim for balls, he's not there with confidence. He knows Dubravka's breathing down his neck in a sense, and he's trying to get back in his first time. Where I would bring Dubravka back actually, just to take the pressure off Darlow, because I would, like I said, I've always loved Dubravka and Darlow since he took over from Dubravka when he got injured, and he's performed a rugby. But these last couple of games, he's just started to flap a lot more, and the pressure's on him.
Yeah. Just going through a few more comments before we end the show. Tom Dixon says Kabay would do a better job than half the players in midfield at Newcastle. I've got no doubt he would, Tom. Absolutely no doubt. But the problem is, I don't think Ashley would have him back simply because of the way he left the club in the first place. Tom says, good luck to Rob Elliott joining Watford. Hopefully play well in goal. Yeah, obviously, they've just took Rob Elliott until the end of the season. Joel says, Bruce will probably play Jethro as a striker. That really wouldn't surprise me at all, to be honest. Stu, do you think Bruce will try and loan Billy Gilmore from Chelsea? He's asked to go on loan to secure his place in the England squad. It's an interesting thought. I think Gilmore's a quality youngster, and he showed that for Chelsea numerous occasions. But I don't know. I don't think he'd go for someone like Billy Gilmore, because I think Gilmore would have high hopes in playing for Newcastle at the minute. I know he'd be in the wanting first team football, but I think he's probably more talking about a top 10 team in the Premier League. Anyway, Stephen, thank you very much for joining the show tonight. Really do appreciate it. Do you want to plug your channel just before you go?
Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel called Geordie Talk. I try to do something like what Paul does, but I've got over 190 subscribers now. I just want to get towards that 200 mark to really get myself set in. So if anybody's watching and do like more Newcastle content, then just find my bio on Twitter, Geordie Talk. And
I'll put you in I've linked your channel anyway, I think, in the description. If not, I'll do it after the show. But thanks very much for coming on, Stephen. Take care, mate.
Thank you. Bye.
So that was Stephen there. Archer, I'm going to get you on next Thursday night's live show, if that's okay with you, mate. I know you've been on a few shows with Peter, etc. So definitely have you on next Thursday, but I'll be in touch about that anyway. We're just going to go through for a few more comments before we end the show. Tom Dixon, why have 3 caretaker managers? Is Bruce going to play as false 10s? It's all over the place really at the minute, Tom, to be fair. I don't understand the appointment of Jones at all. I think it's bizarre, but I do think if Bruce doesn't turn around the results within a few weeks, I think that he will be the interim manager at some point. You can see what's going to happen. It's Newcastle United. John Bruce says, not wanting to make excuses for Steve Bruce, but could be suffering with the loss of his mother and father in such a short space of time. How about putting him on gardening duty for the rest of the season? I know you're no relation either, John. Don't worry. I don't know. Steve Bruce would probably turn around and say that being at work would be the best thing for him. I know he's had a few things in his personal life, happen, but without sounding too callous, there is a lot of people who are going through similar stuff and are still having to work to get a living, etc. So yeah, gardening leave is an option, but I just don't think Bruce would take it anyway. So for me, probably not. Tom says, do you think Chowdhury will do good for us, and where would you play him in midfield with Hayden alongside Shelvey or the Longstaffs? I'd put him alongside Hayden, to be fair. I think Hayden would probably guide him better than anyone else. Hayden's got the experience, he's got the talent, and I think Chowdhury could well learn from him about sort of time and tackles, etc. I know Hayden, can be prone to a dodgy tackle or two in a match, but overall, I think he's a very good tackler of a football, and normally wins the ball. If he takes the man out second, then fair enough, but he normally does win the ball. James Moody says, better than Sean Longstaff. I think he's talking about Chowdhury. Probably yes. I don't see why he wouldn't be. I think, Sean Longstaff's gone so downhill lately, it's unbelievable. Good show, guys. Thanks, Jules. Appreciate you joining in again, mate. Tom Dixon says Tammy Abraham would be a good shot, but probably won't leave Chelsea. No. you know, Tammy Abraham is a good player. I think he's done his time on loan, to be honest, Tom. I think he's one of those players now that wants to establish himself in the Chelsea team, and I think Tuchel would probably want him to stay anyway. I don't think he's looking to offload Abraham at the moment. Certainly with Werner out of form, he's only got really Giroud left. Giroud, you know, we know he's getting on in age, so I think he needs a bit of young pace in the side as well. Paul Jackson, great show, lads. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that, mate. Jason, keep Lascelles as captain or change captain, and who do you choose? Well, I've said this before, Jason, mate. I'd go for Jamal Lascelles. Isaac Hayden over Jamal Lascelles. I think Hayden conducts himself fantastically well off the pitch. He's a model professional, and to me, he's the one that should be captain. He's more vocal on the pitch than Jamal Lascelles, and like I say, when he was going through all the personal problems and wanting to move back to London, not once did he kick off or kick up a fuss. He kept his head down. He kept working for the team and ended up, you know, signing a new contract. And that says a lot about the lad. So for me, it's Isaac Hayden all the way. But anyway, thank you very, very much to everyone that's joined in again tonight. It's been brilliant. We've had some good conversation about Everton, transfers, the manager, Jones coming in, etc. Do join me on Saturday afternoon. Keep an eye out for my review of the game. I really hope it's not an angry one. I'd love to do a review where I'm a big smile on my face and we've won a football match. It'll be tremendous. But until then, who knows? But you never know. I hope everybody enjoys the game and we can march on with 3 points and start climbing up the table. I know it's a pipe dream at the minute, guys, but you just never know. But in the meantime, thank you very much for joining the live stream. Take care and good night.
Be strong.